Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast. Going to take a minute to talk about Anchor. I've been with Anchor for a little over 2 years now, and podcasting couldn't be easier. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it is free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Let your voice be heard. Hey everyone, welcome to the Spiritual Underground Podcast. If you are just first stumbling upon this podcast, we are based on 12-step recovery. I do like to explore other areas in which people find their true selves. There's many avenues to a full life and also to sobriety, and I just have a little bit of a mission to try to keep carrying the torch for. In case you haven't found your way yet, perhaps it will come to you through this medium. 12-Step Spiritual Recovery is a book by James Christopher Cone. It is a new look on the 12 steps. A lot of tribal knowledge has been put together that people, sponsors have in their heads being passed down. And Christopher took what he knew and bundled it up into one powerful book. It is the methodology of the 12 steps that I use. And the book is also geared for people who don't necessarily suffer from alcohol or addiction. So he really talks about how what Bill identifies as the root of alcoholism is a spiritual malady. He really beats on and allows the reader to get in touch with how they may have a spiritual malady, but it maybe has not resulted in over drinking or drugging or maybe none of the isms. Maybe you're just not too damn happy and you're looking for a little more happiness, a little more contentedness in your life. So that's 12-Step Spiritual Recovery by James Christopher Cone on Amazon. You can get that in hard copy or the Kindle version. As a matter of fact, there's a few chapters on it that I read out loud on the podcast. So if you just want to get a free taste of it, you could listen to those. Darren Frank's music is wrapped around this podcast. Good friend of mine. Thankful to have royalty-free, recovery-based music to play here, and have a guest tonight that I met through Clubhouse. I had a little run on Clubhouse, and frankly, just not too long ago, the meeting I was doing on Clubhouse kind of fell down to me and a couple of guys I knew locally. And so I thought my energy ought to be placed elsewhere, and I just really haven't been on Clubhouse much lately. I stopped doing that meeting and found myself drifting away from it. But luckily, I met Crystal before I did that. And that was one great thing about Clubhouse. I met a lot of great people, and life is so full today that, you get to pick and choose what you're going to bring into your life today. And I love that. I can't imagine having the energy that I have to do all the stuff I'm doing today. It has, I saw a meme once that said, let's stop telling everyone how busy we are. And I really try to do that. That hit me. Because you ask somebody, what you been up to? Well, I've been busy. What you been up? I've been busy. Haven't heard from you in a while. I've been busy. And I've tried really to stop saying that. And I've changed it with my life is full. And I'm grateful for that. So Crystal's an athlete, an author, a speaker, and a coach. She's the author of the book Quitting to Win. And my phone just decided to do something I didn't want it to do. And I had that sitting right here, and I touched it wrong. And I've never, I wanted to get the tagline on the byline on it. Quit to win, a proven plan to let go of bad habits, learn to feel and love yourself. How are you today, Crystal?
I'm well, Dan. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So you're sober for, what's your sobriety date?
Yeah, March 22nd, 2015. It's the first time that I got sober. I had some relapses in there. So
Yep.
I ended up going on that.
This is when they said keep coming back, I thought it was just some kind of quaint little saying they just like to chant at you, but the secret to this truly is to keep trying, to keep, I think that's probably the secret to everything, is to get back up when you fall and try again.
That's right. And like, when you're running a marathon and you fall down at, mile number 10, they don't make you go back to the start and start over again, right? You just pick yourself up and you just keep on going.
Yeah, I love that. I need more
So,
ammunition of that type, because people do tend to pull the biggest ball bat they can find out of the locker and beat themselves up when they stumble. And
I
I like
know.
the marathon analogy that you don't have to go back to the starting line. You just get up where you're at.
You just get up where you're at and you keep on going. And I carried a lot of shame after my first relapse. And then they said, we don't shoot our wounded.
Yeah.
And I was like, wah! I just started crying, you know what I mean? With all the embrace. And it's like, okay, I'm back where I belong.
Yeah.
And just pick myself up and keep on going.
Yeah. That was the first time and this is a recovery podcast, but in AA, that's the first time I had experienced that kind of support. I was a little standoffish about it at first. That really unwavering support for you from what really were basic strangers just not too long ago. Actually coming in and raising up the people who are trying to do this deal. And I'm still touched by it when that magic happens in a room and you get to be fortunate enough to, a lot of meetings are just meetings, but some of them go magic. And it is very cool to be sitting in one of them when the magic comes on. And I can't even describe what that is really, but I know I experienced it in my very first AA meeting. I felt the magic that night because a guy come stumbling in there, having no idea what he was doing, and spoke a little bit, because when they said, "Is anybody first AA meeting?" I raised my hand. What I know now is a lull, a quiet period in case somebody's slow to raise their hand. I thought they were waiting for me to talk, and I did. So I shared about a little bit, and I opened myself up to the group. And when I did that, that allowed them to open themselves up to me. And they really poured a lot of hope into me that night. But as you said, I didn't maintain that sobriety date. I had a few more dates after that until keep coming back until the miracle happened for me.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow? Go ahead.
Yeah, me as well. And, it's like, but I thought that I healed myself. I thought that I cured myself, because I had stopped for so long. I got rid of my resentments, went through the steps, got rid of all that stuff that I had a connection. All those spiritual parts that were missing. But still, I'm wired differently. I have that allergy, the blackouts still came, and it just quickly, like in 2 to 3 weeks, I was back in the hospital, like as desperate as I was a year ago.
Yeah.
So what they say is like, if you relapse, you get there quicker or whatever, back to exactly, you go right, you back exactly to where you were. And that's no joke, and I just want people to know that if you fail, it's okay. It's not a failure. It's just part of the journey. And, just pick yourself right back up. And it's almost like, once we know there's a better way of living, it's so hard to live like that,
It really is.
It's just a great design for living, the 12 and 12. And I believe there's 12 more steps after that, that go with food and nutrition, right? The first 12 of how you deal with yourself, the other 12, how you deal with others. And then the 12, sleep, water, nutrition, movement, connection, all those things, take a nap, recharge, like the other life skills.
Yep. Definitely. It was a springboard into a better way of life. It was just my beginning. I certainly wasn't ever going to get into the nutrition and exercise and that kind of thing if I wasn't able to set down the other stuff. For this guy, those two things didn't come in concert with one another. I couldn't. I have a sponsee who worked out really hard. And he's a fit dude, and he did that, drunk. And I'm just not doing it for you. I just wasn't doing that.
I was one of those. And I think it just came from being an athlete, and we would still have to wake up for Saturday morning practices, so Friday night we'd win. We'd still have to show up on Saturday morning, or during the week in college, if we were drinking, we'd still have to show up, so showing up and doing a run and throwing up was, just par for the course.
Yeah.
It was really not, wasn't really matter if, it didn't matter.
Yeah. And the
still
fitness
showed,
level and the youth was able to, I think, also help you with that. Once I aged a little while, my body wasn't going to let me do that anymore. I really used a drinking and drugging experience to end my athletic career. I ended up smoking marijuana on a bus on the way home from a away game once with some guys. I was a sophomore and they were seniors on a basketball trip. And I actually had a guy come back into my life the other day from that. Out of the 5 guys that got kicked out of off the team, 3 are now dead. And there's me and this other guy, so all that's left. Mm-hmm. And so that early substance abuse proclivity ended up really showing itself there. And whenever I got kicked off the team, I just, I got a resentment. How dare they? And I went full blast. I don't know.
And now it's not even illegal.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep.
It's, in some states.
Yep, in some states. And I'm sure that'll be that way here before too awful long. It's not quite yet. Kentucky, I live in Indiana, but I'm on the Kentucky border, and Kentucky's a little more progressive in that way than what Indiana is. I'm really worried about that. And my sponsor's a substance abuse counselor with a bunch of letters after his name. And he's seeing that like a few years ago, the heroin epidemic, and that was what was flooding into his facility. What's flooding into his facility now are marijuana addicts.
That's right.
Because this is not your grandma's marijuana that we're smoking.
No, it's not. I get a lot of calls on that. People will ask me, I don't know what to do with my kid, marijuana, blah, blah, blah. And that it is kind of the new one that will knock you out.
Yep. My sponsor says, don't kid yourself with this. This is a high power narcotic we're dealing with today. It's not just smoking a little weed.
It sure is. And I was on a panel a couple of weeks ago about the Demi Lovato series that came out on YouTube. And she starts using this word California sober, and it just got the community in an uproar. So we got together 6 people and talked about that, and just how, it is not sober. You're not sober. Either you're sober or you're not. There's no gray.
Yeah. The first time I heard that term was on Clubhouse. Yeah. And I think it was having to do with, it was about the same time that come out. And, I fully believe in to each their own. But there are some lines that aren't really blurry. And, I think to me, sobriety is not a blurry line. You either are or you're not.
Right. And then you're still out there trying, and then it's called a relapse, right? Like what I went through. Yeah.
And part of my relapse story was that in my experience, and I watch other people too. So I believe that it's a thing that what you will do is you will eventually drift back to your drug of choice. Pot, I didn't really have a problem with pot. Okay. So I can smoke some of it. And then before long, whatever you do like to do becomes an option.
That's right.
It's just a trail. I remember the whole thing about it not being a gateway drug, and it was for me. And to be completely honest, my gateway drug was nicotine. That was the first place I did something that changed my head. That I decided, hey, I like this, and I want some more of that.
Right.
And the first thing that experience that stops working real fast as far as the change the way you feel. It hooks you, and it doesn't change the way you feel. It doesn't make you feel good anymore. Right. Now you're hooked. And so what caused you? We can go anywhere with this that you want to. I do like to hear about how people grew up and what their childhood was like, and I think it helps that I came from a upper middle class family with 2 great parents that stayed married to the day my mom passed away a couple years ago. And I cannot lay my alcoholism at the feet of my parents. I just can't. My dad is not, he lives with me now. He moved after mom passed. We decided and made an arrangement, and he lives with me. He may walk by here and say something in a minute, because he just doesn't quite understand he's got a little idea about what we're doing here, but not a full grasp of it. He decides to start rattling around and making some noise while I'm doing. That's one of the reasons why I do them a lot of times in a wood shop, because I can go out there and hang up the "Do Not Disturb" sign in the window, and
Very good.
But I can't lay my alcoholism at the feet of my parents. And there's a little bit that I learned, as the way the book says, more will be disclosed or more will be revealed, whichever way it says, that I got a little bit more story on that. But I'd like to hear about how you grew up.
Yeah, so I grew up very middle class, didn't have a lot, but needed for nothing. My mom divorced my dad when I was 1 because he was an alcoholic, and she just wanted peace in the home. He was a delivery driver, and with his delivery back then, he just was able to trade everything and then always end up at the bar at the end of the day and not come home. So she got divorced, and we did not have any alcohol in the house. Grew up, had a really happy childhood, and started playing competitive softball at the age of like 10, 5, I played all the way up, but at the age of 10, started playing competitively in a high school team, made the varsity team, and then was 14-year-old, put up with the 18-year-olds, like you were saying, and that social anxiety. And then we won our region that year and had a celebration that I went to, and then had that first drink, and Zoom, all my social anxiety just went away, being with these older girls and these older kids. And I felt that Zoom, right? And then I just couldn't wait to get back to that every weekend or every chance I got. And I was like, okay, so if I do well in school and I play well, then nobody will bother me. And that's pretty much what happened all the way through high school and all the way through college. I was a very high performer, good grades, and blackout drunk. I have many, many blank spaces in my life. I got pulled over when I was 20 years old driving, and I was given an underage consumption and a fine. So I paid the fine. Then I had to go to 5 classes. Well, these 5 classes were the step meetings. And it was then sitting in those classes that I learned, could I be an alcoholic? My drinking's a little bit different. They give you these 12 questions. If you answer 3 yes to 3 or more, you might have, a problem. And I was like, what? How can I have a problem? So that planted the seed for me, because my idea of an alcoholic was the person under the bridge with the brown bag.
Yeah.
Fast forward, it took me another 20 years to get back into the rooms,
Yep.
So
my story's much like yours of having a seed planted early on. And what I learned to do was, I frankly learned, once I started getting caught, I learned to do it better and not get caught. That's what I learned to do. And meanwhile,
that's it. And even in a lot of times, if somebody said, oh, Crystal was involved, like, no, she wouldn't have been there, because we were so good by day and bad by night. Really Jekyll and Hyde started early on.
Yeah, there was a bit of for me, a little that, that boys will be boys kind of thing with the drinking beer. Nobody really gave, that was really what pain pills is what got me in trouble. And that's what hyper accelerated my alcoholism. But as far as going fishing or playing ball or doing that kind of stuff, a few beers sitting around was normal. And really nobody looked at us sideways for doing that.
No, not at all. And then fast forward to having a kid, taking 2 years off for having a kid and breastfeeding. And then my going back to drinking, it was like blacking out right away, and then the mommy wine culture of just, having to drink every day at 3 o'clock, and it just progressively snuck up on me, husband's traveling for work, you're home raising kids, that bitterness, that resentment grows. But you're really not doing anything wrong. You're just not present, and you're not doing anything wrong as long as everything's going right. Right. And then the lying started, and not really being able to be present with my daughter, drinking and driving. And it just progressively snuck up on me as an adult again. I mean, I was definitely had consequences and blackout stuff in my 20s, but it's when you become a parent, it's just not a good look. And not only is it not a good look, it becomes illegal, for child endangerment and drinking and driving with the minor. And I watched a few of my girlfriends' moms in my community, Arizona, switch the law to 0 tolerance. And they were very strict on it. And I watched a few people, spend their weekends in Tent City and lose their driver's license and not be able to drive their kids for a year. And that really struck me. And every Monday, every weekend, I would say, I'm not going to do that again. I was living in this shell of myself, in this insanity of doing the same thing over and over, and just this picture perfect life that I wanted and a child, and I had it all, but I was dying inside.
Yeah.
And that's how desperate I was. I mean, I couldn't not go on. And I didn't know if I was going to lose my marriage because of it, if I was going to lose my child because of it, but I knew I just couldn't go on.
Yeah, those fears that lay in the background there, and part of the reason why I believe Bill was been told divinely that we needed to do that fear inventory.
That's right.
Living with those things in your. One of the analogies I like to use and was taught was that I have a backpack on me, and every experience I have, I'm putting in that backpack. I'm just stuffing it in there, and the fact that a lot of what was driving me was fear. I was not doing this because I was scared, or I was doing this because I was scared. And that's an awful way to go through life.
It is. As soon as I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable, which then, revealed as a social anxiety. As soon as I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable, I would take a drink when I was doing my hair, getting ready to go out to a social situation with friends. Like, these are your friends. Why would you feel uncomfortable, or why are you going to feel nervous? You shouldn't. It should be totally relaxed situation. But for me, socially, it was just, and then the socialness of staying home, taking care of a kid, it was, every day turned into social. With nowhere to be, and just, so I hope to bring awareness to the mommy wine culture of, that alcoholism is a progressive disease. It sneaks up on you, like we were saying, we can't lay it and blame it on our parents. It's just something. And then with the pills, you get there quicker, or, you start mixing drugs, you get there quicker. Or for me, I needed some cocaine to stay sober, and then that just kept you drinking longer. And, all of it combined, it was just disaster.
Yep. That's how the pills didn't put, I always tell this, my dad, he takes a pain pill, he's on the couch for 8 hours. If I take a pain pill, I'm vacuuming and raking the leaves. And the alcohol quit working for me, and I've heard that said in the room since then, and it was a bell ringing moment for me, because I do recall when it stopped working, I just couldn't get drunk enough. I couldn't, and by not working, what it meant was it wasn't giving me the feeling that I was looking for anymore.
Right.
Once I got a hold of those pain pills, boom, everything started working again. I could drink on those and keep going for the night. And and it really, like I said, it and that's, tends to be a lot of people's story, is that they start adding on to what, and it's like what we were talking about earlier. I started out where smoking a little pot was enough for me every day, or on the weekends, not even every day, just as one to get over the social anxiety stuff, to loosen me up. And then I added alcohol to that, and then I added this to that, and this to that. And before long, there wasn't much I hadn't done. Some of them were a little more scarier than others, and I would judge the particular. I have them all on an even playing field today. I really don't see one from another anymore. Like, the heroin addict is worse than the alcoholic, and but that starts flirting with a lot more scarier substances. I was talking to a guy here the other day, and that knowing inside that I knew something was nudging me, that what I was doing was not right. Dan, you really shouldn't be doing this. You really shouldn't. And that little, I could overdrink that voice, and I could get that voice to go away but I knew when I was picking stuff up, when I started to use any particular chemical, there was that little nudge, but I didn't listen to it. That it's kind of like the angel and the devil on the shoulders picture. They were arguing about whether if I should do this or not. And the substance always won for me, until I had a 12-step foundation to be able to defeat that.
Yeah. And the first couple of years of my sobriety was all I could do to be sober. I just had to go to meetings, stay within my community, was socially, didn't want to put myself in those parking lots or restaurants where I had these memories come back or whatever, and then, you get to this point in your recovery where you're like, okay, so I've been given this gift of sobriety. So what am I going to do with it? How do you close that gap? And then to get to giving back and meeting wonderful people through different platforms and carrying the message of hope to all those who still suffer. And it's really, that is, turning my mess into my message.
Yeah.
And if you can reach one person, right, it's all worth it, because if they weren't there when I showed up, right? So that's why we keep showing up for each other.
Yep.
It's like just for one person to hear it. And you know how you were talking about getting busy earlier.
Yep.
But you still have to show up for each other like this. You can't get too busy, because then you get busy being busy.
Yep.
And you forget, and you got to keep giving back. And I just love the way the triangle works and all the different things.
One of my favorite sayings, that I hear those little sayings that get tossed around these rooms. And as I told you earlier, I can go see a movie with two friends back-to-back nights and not remember, but those little sayings stick in this noggin of mine. And my favorite one of that was, don't let the life AA gave you get in the way of your AA life. And you just
That's
see
right.
it almost as a cliche, is when people get well, they get, back problems, they get all their stuff back. And as they begin to get their life back, they start setting down their recovery. And that's really the lesson that I learned on this time around, that I took to heart, was a friend saying, it's a simple, another little thing a guy told me. He said, Dan, you must participate in your own recovery. So the podcast and sponsoring people and doing that retreat last month, and those kind of things, is keeping me in the game, keeping me where I'm continuing to participate in my recovery this time around. And that's I set everything down once, and that didn't work out so well for me.
That's exactly right. Like, I look at my calendar and I go, oh, I see my sponsor on Wednesday. I go, oh, how do I feel? I'm feeling good. Like, I want to call and cancel. And I'd be like, oh, I'm good. And then I'll show up and I'd be like, I'm so good. I was going to cancel. But then that's what got me all the way back to square one last time, because I thought I was good, and then life still sneaks up on you. So it's just so funny that I just show up. I show up no matter what.
Yep.
And whatever comes out, comes out. But like you're saying, the backpack, I call it the bank account, where you're just making those deposits and for when you need it. And, life still continues to get lifey, and you still need it. And hopefully you have some, debits in your bank account and you can get through it. I mean, I know for me, it's still, I'm not fully emotionally sober all the time. I still get angry. I still will slip into being selfish, or I'll slip into, I self me. But I can, talking about our little things that we take away, like my favorite one is halt, Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And generally, if I start to get anxious or something's bothering me or somebody's ticking me off in the house, I go, oh, halt. Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And then normally I can drink some water, go take a nap, come back in 20 minutes and like zoom it, and it's just gone. Whatever I was feeling, it just passed and I'm able to catch myself and not create wreckage.
Right.
It's not that I don't have those feelings anymore. Those feelings still come up less and less, but, and I do believe that you can rewire your brain, and fix these neural pathways. And like they say, what fires together wires together, so if you create these new habits and stuff, those thoughts will come in less and less.
Yep.
And if you use statements like, up until now, I used to feel lonely when my husband traveled, I don't feel like that anymore, but you have to like reprogram your brain, and it takes like a conscious effort, and going through, this way of living and working with people in the program is really the best way to do it. I mean, it's not through doctors. I know you said your sponsor has letters behind their name, but I really find that it's working not with paid people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like really just working with people.
Yep. That's just like the triage is usually where he comes in, that's stopping the mess when it's really bad, so that you can get you can get turned in a new direction and and helps point you to these communities that you will do the rest of your life with if you are smart. um,
That's right.
yeah, that it's one of the reasons why, that another one of the ones is keeping it green, continuing to work with new people, because it helps me remember when I see how much my new guy is struggling and how hard life is day to day for him, is a daily reminder to me of where I don't want to go back to. I could find myself, there's a funny little thing about how we this disease will forget we have it, and if we're not around it a lot, and there's just nothing that touches that more fulfilling to me than to be a part of another guy's life whenever the lights are coming on for him, to be able to help him make that course correction and to walk hand in hand, side by side with them as they begin this new way of living, and be able to promise them that I can guarantee you, if you will do this, your life will get better. I really can guarantee you that. To have that amazing tool is very fulfilling in my life.
Yeah, it is just such a great playbook. And I'm part of this foundation called the Sold Out Youth Foundation. And our message is to go into middle schools and teach kids, or get kids to commit to abstinence. And, it has some celebrity endorsements behind it, and these celebrities telling them, that they're abstinence, so there's this, hopefully we can get to the youth earlier, right? I mean, I really didn't have anybody telling me anything either way. You know what I mean? It was kind of just a side hush thing that the kids did, right? There wasn't really, I don't remember anything until like MAD came around, and that was like, oh, well, don't drink and drive. But for me, living in the city or the suburbs, I mean, Uber was around, and then Uber allowed me to not break the law.
Yeah. Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly. But, if we can get to the youth of today and just say, you just don't ever have to start drinking. You don't even need it. Here's the tools you need to deal with, that way that you feel. So hopefully that'll
have an impact.
I think it will trend. I think knowledge is doubling, like, every 12 hours out there, and people, are putting out all this great content, and the young and the youth are learning, that they don't even have to start.
Yeah. Right. And, I kind of hope it'll kind of like, be like smoking, that it finally gets to where it weans itself out, and, and there's still people smoking. Yes. But it's a heck of a lot less. You just don't see people smoking the way they used to. And maybe drinking and alcohol will be in the same boat someday.
I do believe that. And one of my dreams and visions is to take it all the way up to Capitol Hill and change the laws of alcohol advertising. I mean, just like the smoking ones, like if they have a smoking commercial, then here's the warning, like the alcohol stuff needs the warning. And for every alcohol, glamorous ad they need to make what happens, the wreckage of an alcohol also.
Yep.
So there's a couple laws that can still be put into place, and hopefully, I do see those shifting over my lifetime, and that will be my work. I'm committed to making that my work, of reaching the youth for abstinence and changing the laws at the highest level.
Yeah. I've said, it's a really great thing that, that this could come in and fix the broken me at 45 years old, but what can we do to not get broken in the first place, not to never get there? That would really be the solution, is to, instead of this repairing things, to arm people with the real facts about what this will do. I've told my kids, I've armed them with the facts. That's for sure. They know my story, and they knew who drunk dad was too. And they were 8 and 10 when I got sober. And I've said to them, one way I've said to them is that, I know that someday you're going to get a chance. You're going to be offered a drink or a drug. You're going to be. It's just the way it is. And, it's like spinning a roulette wheel on what it's going to do with you. I had no idea in the 9th grade when I started. I think it was around the 9th grade when I started this little toying around and experimenting with drugs and alcohol, that it was going to take me to stand in front of a judge telling me I was going to go to prison for 6 to 20 years. And that was not what I was thinking. And so allowing them that giving them that knowledge, and I think it's working up to this point. I think they're listening.
Yeah.
They've gone to meetings with me. They know all my friends.
Yeah.
We've not hid any of this from them, and they've told me that they like the sober dad a whole lot more. So hopefully that'll sink in, that they'll like themselves a lot more sober too.
Right. Yeah. My daughter has grown up around my recovery as well, going to meetings. Thank God I found a home group, that had childcare when I first started. And, those moms that were there, that's just a bond like, we didn't have with anybody else, because we were both in childbearing, raising, same state, getting sober, same state of, our child's life. And it's almost like we're reborn, at that. It's like we grew up. I like to say, like, I grew up in AA.
Yep, me too.
Because I didn't start growing up until I got sober.
Yep, I agree.
I was
100%.
very codependent.
Yep, I really don't. I didn't feel like an adult. Now looking back, it's all rear view mirror stuff. But looking back, I really didn't feel like I matured into adulthood until I was 45 years old and got sober.
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing. It's like, wow, to think back about, just how aloof I was to what was going on in the world, and the real deal here. I still say, sometimes I'm still that 12-year-old boy. It's like an Arrested Development thing. I can kind of revert back to that when I'm not using my tools. Like you said, what I heard, I'm able to do the course correction today, relatively efficient. So I, like you said, don't have to make any wreckage. I can catch that and employ tools before I hurt somebody or do something that's contrary to the way I'm trying to operate my life today.
Yeah. And what about the other things about, like, how we've been hacked? Like, I was hacked from alcohol, right? Because it would gain, like, hacking means that something gain unauthorized access to a system or computer. Normally we think about our bank accounts or whatever, but really alcohol, hacked my brain. And gain access to my body or whatever. And how do you counterattack that? But how do you release those endorphins that you would get from the synthetic, taking something else of those drugs or the pot or the pills or the whatever? Like, I really am in a place right now in my sobriety where I'm like, okay, I need to go catch some adrenaline. All right, let me just go cannonball into the pool. Like, just for fun, you know what I mean? Or like, I started this screaming, and I picked it up from a breath worker who put me through this breathing session, and had this screaming. So like, the joke is the scream pillow. Like, it's okay to scream in the scream pillow, like when you're happy or when you're angry, right? But your body still has that release, right? So I think it's all about, when you exercise, then you release those other chemicals. And how do you learn your computer, your brain, to release those chemicals that you're naturally supposed to release without the synthetic stuff? That's really where I'm at right now. And I'm just really enjoying this part of my sobriety, being like, okay, I went and drove fast the other day in one of these, like, this fun convertible car, just for fun, because I had this big meeting, and I'm like, okay, I need a release after this. Like, okay, let me go find my friend and go drive fast down the freeway. And nobody was in a danger or anything, but just finding how to tap into your natural drugs.
Yeah. Yep.
I think if you could learn that at a young age, it would just be, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Yep. It really is. We are on the same path in a lot of directions. I think about that too. One of the ways I talk to people is that this disease is like a computer virus, and it hacks your operating system. And frankly, that really wasn't you. That's the powerless aspect of this kind of thing. It's another parallel to that what that's doing to you is not you. Your operating system has been hacked, and you are no longer running the show. And we got to get it back under your control. And it's going to take some time, and we're going to have to do some things you're not going to want to do. But if you listen to me, we'll get there. And I love that. We still wanting to I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I have a adventurous side to me that I need to tap into. And there's certain things that I like to do that I know I really need to do today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, one of mine is hunting. I get I
Yeah.
get something from doing that and I really, I haven't shot anything in a long time, but I still hunt. Just like
Yeah,
it's almost not fair to say I'm a hunter. I always have to like say a little disclaimer, and it's not that I'm opposed to it. I just haven't had to. It's interesting that I get the fulfillment that I need without that element. And that actually puts the work into it too. So now you got this animal that you got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to have all the fun without that part of the work. And I'm actually going to Colorado with some friends in this fall, and I'm not hunting. I'm a felon, and Colorado doesn't let you hunt. And
Oh,
I was a little bothered by that at first, but then I thought, well, I'm not killing anything while I'm at home hunting. What do I care? So I'll just go out there and be part of the experience and be and help those guys, and tapping into a creative side too. I think is something that was taught to me that's really important as an element to bring into a recovered life, is to have some way to find find a creative element in your life that you can tap into, and I think that it releases them same kind of chemicals. That's that same thing that you're trying to get released on
yeah.
purpose. There's just a lot of ways this thing goes so far beyond not drinking and drugging.
It sure does. Yeah. Meditation usually is one thing that people find right away. But how
Yeah,
you were saying about hunting, I feel the same way. Like when I go out and play catch with the softball, and somebody just throw it and, hear that pop in your glove, and, you just throw it as hard as you can at each other playing catch, or as fast as you can, you catch that. Then I feel the same way, like when, you're hunting. So yeah, just identifying those things in life that give you that release, whether it's like the epinephrine or the dopamine or the serotonin. There's those four main chemicals, and when you get through exercise.
yeah, and I think the science says today that those chemicals that's what's happening artificially when you're using the chemicals, and then your ability to release them naturally begins to wane as you begin to
Diminish.
lean on
Yeah.
this. So then you've got to rebalance the scales again and get these things, like you said, those synapses, and get all that stuff firing again. And and your new alcoholic that I meet the other night wants that to happen real fast. And I say, it's not going to happen fast, buddy. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's things can get better pretty quick, but this is a process. And frankly, it's a process that you'll need to employ the rest of your life. There's not a finish line in this race.
There's no finish line. There is no finish line. And I learned that, with the relapse, thinking, oh, I finished this. I did it for a year. I did everything my sponsor told me for a whole year, 90 and 90, went to meetings, but did a home group, blah, blah, blah. Thought I graduated.
Yep.
Just one thing in life that is always part of you. And it's just, I am a grateful alcoholic, Christian mother, businesswoman, author, and just, I could have never gotten where I am today if it weren't for that.
Yep.
And the people that I have met through this journey is just incredible. I had a wonderful meeting this weekend with somebody. He's in our community, so I'll tell you who he is, but they made the movie Jerry Maguire after him, and he's a sports agent. His name's Lee Steinberg, and he was the greatest agent, and then he failed, and then lost it all, went to alcohol and got it all back again. So he has agreed to co-write with me my next book.
Awesome.
And
Congratulations.
I just thank you. And I would have never met him. I would have never met him had I not been on this foundation and that and this and all the people that I've met. And it's just the doors that keep opening, when you show up. It's just amazing.
Yeah, really does. I call them miracles. And there have been some true miracles happening in my life as a result of recovery. Some stuff that's, beyond understanding miracles. But at the baseline, I call it a miracle is simply something that wasn't going to happen for me unless I got sober. It was a byproduct of recovery. And
Yeah.
I meet people like you and others that that simply wouldn't have happened if I'd been where I was. It's fantastic. Tell me a little about your book that's behind you.
Yeah, so this is my book, Quitting to Win. A proven plan to let go of bad habits, learn to feel and love yourself. And it won Health Book of the Year for 2020.
Awesome.
And it's part memoir, part self-help. I share some of my favorite recipes in there, so the first part is the past. The second part is how to live now, how I live now. And I also have this other book that I just got certified on that it's funny, we're talking about the unhackable thing, but I have unhackable. One of my chips.
Yeah, unhackable. Exactly what that sounded like to me.
Yeah, it was one of my chips. I had them lined up here. So if it's okay with you, I would like to offer all the readers a free book. Just pay for shipping and handling. If you go to my website on crystalwaltman.com, click on work with me, then you'll see the free book offer, and you just pay for shipping. Or if they want to take the unhackable assessment, it takes you through these series of questions and see where they're at,
Awesome.
So I'd like to offer, anybody who's listening, those two things.
Great.
Going forward. And
yeah, I'll put that in the notes too.
Okay.
You're easy to find. I didn't have any trouble locating you in Google. So I tapped in there, Crystal Waltman. I happen to have a friend. It's, I maybe overthink some of this stuff, but I have a friend here that means a lot to me that has the same last name as you do.
Waltman?
Yeah. It's not a real common, I don't know a lot of Waltmans, but yeah, I have a friend. She listens to this a lot too. So might be tickled that I had talked about it.
It's my husband's last name, and he's from Pennsylvania.
Well, that's not too far away. But
I don't know if those are the Waltmans of Pennsylvania, but
she's one of us too. And
reach out if you are. She's yeah. Awesome. And my maiden name is Wallen, Wallen.
Wow.
So there wasn't a big change in my last name or my initials or anything. So nobody really notices.
Yeah. Just if you just slur your words a little, you don't know the difference.
Yeah, you don't know the difference.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I see it says eating to win and training to win. There's a lot of things behind you that I imagine follow through with what you're bringing to the community. And
so these are some ebooks that I offer now with my coaching. I start to give you more pieces, but I believe in cleansing, right? The master cleanse, the lemonade diet, the traditional one that's really, and then, I'm plant-based. I just feel better when I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
I started cutting out one day and going meatless Monday. Right. And then I would just cut out breakfast and lunch and just have a little bit of meat at dinner. And I just find that I sleep better. I feel better. I feel like my skin looks better, now that I'm hydrated. And then, I believe in eating green smoothies, anything green, put it in a blender.
Yeah.
So it's just some real basic stuff. It is so basic. It's not fancy at all, and I really live by the 5 things to manage my mental health daily is water, sleep, food, movement, and connection.
Yeah. Most
people are walking around dehydrated. And I like to say, like, if you're already thirsty, like the Arizona is very hard dirt, like hard to farm out here. Right.
Yeah.
And and they go, but I just drank water. But sometimes if you let yourself get dehydrated, it's like pouring water on that Arizona dirt and it just rolls right off. Like it doesn't even soak in because you're so dehydrated. Yeah. So you just have to constantly keep sipping, and all your systems, like we were talking about, our tissues and our brain and everything, the body's made of water. It's just so important and so underrated.
Yeah.
Whenever I don't feel well, I drink water and go take a pause. And it's all, you can just really not get enough water. I mean,
I agree. Everybody's walking around dehydrated. That's a fact. To be honest, you can't drink enough water.
No.
You if you think you're drinking a lot of water, it's probably still not enough.
Yeah. So the formula, the science formula is half your body weight in ounces.
Right. Yep.
So, but then you have to add in environment. So I live in Arizona. It's like living in a microwave. It's 106 to 116 outside.
Yep. And
You know, and
dry. Right.
then
So
I do a hot yoga then I do a hot yoga class on top of that.
yep.
You
Sweat it
know,
out.
so you just need a lot of water. So the second thing is sleep. You know, you protect your sleep. Don't get hacked. Don't let your sleep get hacked by, you know, your phone or the blue lights or the noise. You know, I like to shut down at a certain time every night and start my sleep routine, you know, get ready for the next day, because tomorrow's going to be a great day. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Who wants to have a small day? You know, I am tired of having small days. I'm not going to be in bed anymore. Protect your sleep. Sleep is so important. And that's when your body, you know, when I was living on vodka, so for so many years, it's like your body never got into that REM sleep and that replenishing, right? You have to get into a certain stage of sleep so your cells can rejuvenate themselves. And with the proper water and the proper sleep, you can do what they call like an anti-aging, right? You can reverse some of the things that are happening to your body. So just the basic two things of water, sleep, and food. Eat God-made food. You know, if it comes in a package, there's a better choice.
Yep. Yep.
You
I
know,
think, you know, and I agree, you know, experiment with different foods and see, you know, see whether, you know, because I do believe we're all different. You know, I don't think everybody is made to be plant-based necessarily.
no,
You got to see what your machine likes to run on.
that's right.
And
then, yeah, food and connection and movement, you know, get out and move. You got to get up from your computer. You have to help your heart, you know, that's like help yourself.
yeah.
Help your body, help yourself, you know, pump your blood. And it could be walking the dog.
Yep. That needs to be intentional movement. You know, a lot of people think that because they're busy, they're moving around a lot. And I say, okay, that's good. That's better than being on the couch. But for me, that there has to be some intention behind that for me. It can't be accidental. My car breaks down. I have to walk home. That doesn't necessarily count as exercise.
No, and plus that will probably elevate your cortisol levels, right? Yeah. And when your cortisol levels are your fight or flight, when your body kicks in that flight or flight, when the hair on your neck stands up and you're like, so that is a bad chemical that's released, right? And you have to be able to realize that chemical and like, how do you counter that through a meditation or something and bring yourself back down, you know? Yeah. And some of my friends will say like, oh, I run on a low level of cortisol all the time, you know, because they're just putting out fires and they're that busy person, or they're like, and I'm like, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
That is so choice. That's a choice lifestyle to run on that level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Now I think to bring that busy thing back in again, you know, at a very basic level, my busyness is not the way that I was built to run. And at the very minimum level, meditation will slow me down for a little bit each day. There's more to it than that. But if you spin a bearing on a machine at 35,000 RPMs 24/7, you're going to wear it out. You got to give that thing a break once in a while.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, I work with people, just all the basic stuff of life, nothing too complicated.
Yeah.
And it's just really, it's just been amazing.
And you say that, you know, and most of this stuff really is, you know, even the principles and the what happens when you work these 12 steps, when you do an inventory on where you're at and kind of get a, you know, I talk about the inventory being like at the wilderness area, when the arrow points, you are here. That's what that 4th step is to some extent. It shows you where you're at on the map, because without that on the map, it's no good to me. Just seeing it, if I don't know where I'm at on it. And so that's a real simple way to get to that. And most of this stuff is simple, but there's something about this human organism that doesn't like simple, wants to try and complicate everything. And it time and time again, bringing, you know, keep it simple, stupid, there's some fundamentals, and getting back to like those 5 fundamentals you just talked about, you know, they're really base necessities. They're not options. and
but they're
and
not
they're not
options.
difficult. There's
Yeah.
none of that is difficult. There's nothing that you can
And
say,
then,
well, I
you
can't do
know,
that.
yeah. And I don't want to lead people the wrong way. For every yes I get in business, I get 10 no's.
Yeah.
But it does, because I have the tools, it doesn't stop me. Like it literally rolls right off of me. Like next, you know what I mean? So it's nothing's better than hard work. And right now, one of my mantras that I'm living by is like, I didn't come this far to just come this far,
Yeah.
because
Right.
every day is a gift.
Yep. And there's more. One of my
There's
favorites,
more.
another one, I said, I smell more. I smell more. And I'm gonna keep following my nose and seeing what it is. You was talking about getting rejected. It brought back to that. It brought to thought that the thing about the failures that we've had, and one of the other things it seems to be is that my failures and my rejections is where I learn the most. That's where I actually grow. Um,
Yes.
when things come easy, when something just works and you didn't have to really try for it, which happens, and that's really nice.
Then you're not
But you
dreaming
really
big
don't.
enough.
Yeah, you really don't pick anything up off of that. It just
Yeah.
that's when the rails are greased. But when I have to face things, and it's like it's that hero's journey thing where we're going to end up in a fight here and there, and not necessarily a fight, but we're going to have struggles and we're going to
Yeah.
have suffering, and so what are you going to do with that? That's really where defines most of us, is what are we going to do when things are tough.
Yeah.
And I had to practice some things and be in different lifestyles. Your last one was connection, and you didn't hit on it. You want to hit on it for a minute, because that's a core value of mine too.
Yeah, connection with your higher power and your friends. So for me, I am wired to call 3 sober sisters a day. Or when something runs in my head longer than 10 minutes and I'm starting to fret about something, I will just put it on speed dial and call somebody and say, hey, this is bothering me, and then they're able to talk me through it. Usually what's my part in it, bring me back to where my character defect is in it. But connection with the higher power, so you have to stay in gratitude.
Yeah.
Stay in gratitude. And it's so easy to slip out of gratitude, it really is. And look at what you don't have, but you just look at everything that you do have, not the missing tile in the corner. Look at all the tiles that you have in the floor. It's like when you walk in somebody's house and they're like, oh, well, we're going to fix that construction, or we haven't done that over there yet. Right. Like you walk in, you see this whole house and you're not even looking over there in the corner at that missing floorboard or whatever it is, but some people's brain goes to point out that missing tile instead of all the tiles that are there and beautiful.
The negative bias that somehow or another is wired into us, where we just seem to be drawn directly to that. So weird, it's another one of the deprogrammings that we've been hacked to do that. And we need to be reprogrammed to where that's not where your focus is. What I like to tell people is that, if I walk into a party or a room and there's 30 people in there and 29 of them say I look great, and one of them says, Dan, you're not looking so good. I'm in the bathroom trying to figure out why the one guy, I don't listen to the 29 that told me how good I look tonight. I listen to the one that said that I didn't look so good.
Yeah. All
Connection
right. Well, this is
really,
connection.
I'll hit on one last point. You're talking about the connection with that. And we use a program, an app called Marco Polo. It's a video chat thing. And I'm part of 8 men in one that we have a little group one, and we just stay in contact. And that dumping that negative energy, or dumping that thing, like you talked about, calling somebody really quickly. We use that tool to do it. And we have this support. We call it it come from like the military kind of deal. And there's a SEAL Team 6, or there used to be, and we call it Soul Team 6, just to have some name for the thing. And it's really caused us it's really been a huge benefit to have that connection with these with this intimate connection with these 7 other guys. And it's not too many that it gets bogged down. If it was a lot, it'd be a little bit unmanageable. It's just the right number that everybody has their little bit different thoughts about something. And if you want some input, or sometimes it just comes in there and says, "Hey man, I got a vent," and somebody just goes, "Rah," and he just gets it out of his system, kind of like screaming,
takes the power out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just been a great thing. I love the fact that we have that little group together. And the other thing is, if somebody needs something, that's 7 guys I know I can count on. That if something is going on where I truly need some help right now, one or more of those guys will be available.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it has been wonderful chatting with you tonight. We tried to do this one other time and it didn't work out. And I felt the energy was off during the thing, but tonight I feel the energy, everything's in alignment.
Everything is. I that last time I was dehydrated. And it's just so funny because I mean, it happens to me too. And here I am preaching water, but it is so important.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show me too.
Me too.
I'm not standing here talking this stuff just like it doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
That demonstrates that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I will email you everything for the notes. And
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
get connected.
Do that, and I go pretty much real time, so this will come out Sunday. I roll mine out quickly.
Okay,
if you help me before then, that'd be great. If not, I'll dig it up myself.
Okay. All right, Dan, thanks so much.
All right. I end my podcast with 2 things every single time, kind of the same way I've started. I say a prayer before this podcast opens, and that's been working for me. When things are working, I keep doing them. When they're not working, I've learned to stop doing them. The first one is, if you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault. And thank you all for allowing Crystal and I to participate in our recoveries in this manner tonight. Peace out.